Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk about 3 things I wish I had have known, or that somebody would have told me when I first started on the Wiccan witchcraft path. But before I do, hi, I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com, author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. And if you want to do just that, craft your witchcraft path, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. And if you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice but you haven't got a clue, when you're trying to figure it out all on your own, take a look at my free webinar called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. The link is in the description field below this video. Today I wanted to just share with you 3 things that I wish I had have known right at the very beginning, because it just would have saved me a lot of time maybe, and energy as well. The first one was the tool thing. I think a lot of us, when we first come to the witchcraft path, particularly if it's Wicca, or it's a style of witchcraft that sort of comes from the Wiccan form, that we have to have all of the tools. We have to have the athame, we have to have the cup, we have to have the pentacle, we have to have the wand, we have to have the besom, we have to have a sword, and then we've got to have a staff, and then we've got to have a cauldron, and all of these things, all of these objects that we think we need to have. And right at the very beginning, you don't need actually any of them at all. You can simply make do with yourself, or even just with everyday objects that are similar to these things. You can use a straw broom. You can use a kitchen knife. My first athame was a kitchen knife. It was my very first one before I got the more official one, which was a letter opener. But the kitchen knife wasn't double bladed, of course. It was a kitchen knife, so it only had one side that was sharp. And I did some craft work on it to make it look more like an athame. And I think I used that for about 18 months during the whole newbie time before I met the coven and started working with the coven. And I used that as my athame. And it served its purpose. It worked. I couldn't sort of, I guess, cut through on both sides of the double-edged sword. I just had to turn it around, but it still did its thing. And a lot of kitchen witches use their kitchen knives as athames as well. So if a kitchen knife is all you have and all you can afford to have, then just use a kitchen knife. Pick one that's special to you and use that. And if you're not a kitchen witch, use that particular knife for anything to do with working with energy that you'd normally use an athame for. I used a ceramic goblet for my cup. I still use that very same ceramic goblet for my cup. Even though I have other cups now, this one I still use, and I got it from a secondhand shop. And a lot of people will tell you, don't use secondhand objects because they will still have the energy of the people that had them before. Yes, they do, so you do need to cleanse them. But if the object is something that you've got a sense that other people probably haven't really used, like this particular cup, it had been made by somebody and they had never actually used it. It was just something that was there as a decoration. So I still use that to this very day. My second athame, which was my more official athame because I used it in the coven, and it was the athame that I was initiated with when I was first initiated, was a letter opener. It was in the style of, well, it was actually a replica of Excalibur. And I used that for a very, very, very long time, like years. It was all I could afford at the time. Any of the other daggers that were around didn't appeal to me. So that's the one that I used. And I didn't get my first athame that actually you could say was a more traditional athame until about 22, 23 years later. So it took a long time for me to get that more official looking athame. I think too, after a while I realized that what I was doing with the letter opener and also what I was doing with the kitchen knife was just as effective as the athame itself. They just didn't look the part. So don't worry about not having all of your tools. Just use a normal broom that you would get from the supermarket or a hardware store. Find yourself a nice glass to use as your cup. Draw yourself a pentagram and use that. And as far as your wand's concerned, just go grab a branch off a tree, consecrate it. You can always sandpaper it and make it look more pretty if that's what you want to do. If you're very crafty, of course, you can make your own implements, but just use what you can to get going, because that's what I did and it wasn't a problem for me. I did wish and I did hope that I could have had better tools at the time, but it took a while for me to actually gather those tools. The second thing is that magic isn't like it is in the movies. My very first spell was to win the lotto. And I really thought that magic would bring the lotto to me. I really did. And of course it didn't. It didn't work. It didn't bring the lotto. I didn't become a millionaire overnight or any of those things. But I really believed that magic had the ability to be able to do something like that. And I was incredibly disappointed when I discovered that it couldn't. So don't expect magic to be out of the ordinary. It is sometimes miracles happen or they appear to be miracles, but they're actually just things lining up that were already in your sphere of availability anyway. So it was easy for it to all line up for you. And you were in the right mind frame, you had the right energy, you had the right mindset in regards to whatever it is that you're doing the magic for. So it all lines up. And so some people do indeed do a spell for money, and they may indeed have some kind of a win on the lotto. Usually it's not a huge win, usually it's a smaller win, but sometimes yes, they do win. And yes, I have won lotto on a spell in the past too, but the most of that was about $70. So it wasn't like the jackpot of 60 million or anything like that. I think it was like a division 6 or 7. So be realistic with your magic. Know that magic works within the physical realm, and that sometimes we have to do extra things on a mundane level to help the magic come through, or we may need to be more strategic in how we plan our magic and do more spell work and combine things to be able to bring about the desire, depending on what it is. If you need some more help with that, I do have the Spellcaster Checklist. It's a free PDF that you can download from my website. The link is also in the description field for that one as well, so check that out. Particularly if you're doing some magic for something and you're having a bit of a struggle trying to get it to work, because sometimes you really do have to work with 2 different things or 3 different things, or have a process that you do one spell to make something happen and then you do another one to make another aspect of that happen. So it can be more than just lighting a candle, doing a spell and expecting that you're going to become a millionaire overnight. Number 3, deities. When I first started out, I thought I had to resonate with a particular deity, and for the life of me, I couldn't resonate with just one deity. I didn't have a matron or a patron deity. A lot of people that I knew are resonating with various different deities like the Morrigan and Diana, Isis and Breed and Odin and Cernunnos, and I was there going, well, I'm not connecting to any one of them in that kind of really strong, yes, this is my deity type of thing. To me at the time when I first started, the goddess and god were very broad, very general. They were energies I could connect with, but I couldn't give them a name. And even though when I joined the coven, we were working with particular deities, I still didn't necessarily connect to those deities myself at the time of the coven deities that we were working with. So it kind of got me down a little bit because I felt I should have, but at the same time I thought, well, it is what it is. If I'm meant to work with a particular deity, or if that stage is ever needs to be, then I guess it will happen when it's meant to happen. And it took about 10 years before it actually did happen. And I actually had to go out of the more traditional Wiccan path to find that first deity to really do some serious work with. So if you can't resonate with a particular deity yet, then don't worry about it. Just resonate with the energy of the goddess energy or the god energy and work with them unnamed in a very general way, because believe it or not, it still works. If you call upon the goddess for help, she will help you. Whether you're relating to her as a particular deity or you're just relating to her as the goddess, and the same with the god. If you're calling for the god to help support and help provide for you, then that energy, it still works, it still happens. So don't get hung up on not having a matron or a patron deity. So they're the three things that stood out to me when I thought about the question, what do I wish I had have been told before I started out? Because I'd read all the books. At the time when I was starting out, this is way back in the early 90s, probably around 1991, and there was only books. I didn't have a huge library. There wasn't a lot of books in the library either to get to. There was only some New Age bookstores and some books. So there wasn't a lot of information around like there is now. Now I think a lot of people have the opposite problem, whereas I didn't have enough information for myself. Now I think people have too much information and it's become quite overwhelming. So there might be a lot more I wish somebody had told me for people who are coming into the craft now in this age of information, where you only have to go online and type something into a search engine and you'll get a whole lot of blogs and YouTube videos and all sorts of things addressing whatever that question is. And a lot of the time, the information can be contradictory and it can just be really, really confusing. So that's why I started the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, by the way. So if you are interested in learning Wicca with me, it's an eclectic form of Wicca. You want to get started, you want to practice the craft as opposed to just reading about it, and you're ready to make this a part of your life, to deepen your life and deepen your meaning of life. What does life mean to you? What does it mean to be spiritually connected to nature, spirit, and the divine? If you want to learn that with me, take a look at the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. The link to that is also in the description field below this video. And do take a look at how to start your witchcraft practice, that free webinar, because it's got some very useful information in it for those of you who are wanting to take your practice to a deeper level and actually make this a part of your path moving forward. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.